I've been in this series on the word attitude, building an acrostic, and today we are going to give the last, or hear the last letter. So let me do a quick review. A, always give thanks. T, think of others more. Second T, trust the journey. I can do it. T, time management. U, use your gifts. D, develop a learning plan. And today, expect to win. I love the quote adapted from Nelson Mandela that states, you can expect to win or expect to learn. When you actually expect to win, you or expect to learn, you are in a growth mindset. And this actually assists each of us in removing the fear of failure. And it actually makes way for the opportunity to fail forward because, in the end, only quitters are the losers. So now I don't know about you, but I don't like failure. So this is something I've had to work really hard on, this mindset of expecting to win or learn. That dislike of failure for me was rooted in the belief that I had stored over the years, and it had taken hold that perfection, or at least the projection of perfection, was necessary for people to like me, trust me, follow me, or respect me as a leader. And what I've learned is that projecting perfection is a recipe for people feeling intimidated. Because why? They're not able to relate. They're not able to relate when because if we all take a hard look at ourselves, we know deep within that we are not perfect. But when we expect to grow, or be in a growth mode versus perfection, we can lead more boldly, and that fear of failure loses its grip because failure just simply provides the feedback that we need. Failure actually can be an amazing teacher. Let me explain. When I was getting my chemistry degree, and I am a science nerd, I absolutely love chemistry. But when I was in getting my chemistry degree, in one of the last chemistries that I took was analytical chemistry. And it is where I received my first failing grade, like of my entire career ever. A big old fat F. When I got that lab back, it was the very first lab of analytical chemistry. And there are about 90% of us in the class that had an F on our lab. I mean, I was seriously mortified. I mean, it was my first F. So what had happened is the professor did not give us any precursor to what would be successful and or what would be necessary for getting an A. So we all treated, most of us anyway, treated the lab like we did all of the other labs that we had in our chemistry degree up to this point. So this is an advanced chemistry. And so we're working with the glassware and all the things. You have to take mass measurements, and you're utilizing that to actually make calculations, and you get what's called a percent error. Well, the one thing we weren't expecting is that fingerprints on the glass were enough to highly impact the results. So our percent error actually ended up being way off the mark, thus leading to the F. Because trust me, when we all got our papers back, we were like, what? What did we miss? We did this, we did that. And we were all justifying. And the professor comes in and he said, but the one thing you didn't do was eliminate the fingerprints off of your glassware. Whoa. Let me tell you, that hit hard. But here's the thing, that failure opened up my mind to what I needed to do in order to learn to not repeat that mistake again. Even something as unseen as fingerprints was enough to be a difference maker in the results. And listen, I want you to really process that your thoughts, how you think, are often the unseen fingerprints that you don't even realize are negatively impacting your results. You keep failing, and your fear of failure grows bigger, which then just exacerbates it. So, I want to give you 3 steps you can take to break this fear cycle. Number 1, redefine failure before it redefines you. I want you to ask yourself the hard questions. Do I see failure as feedback, or do I see it as fatal? Because failure isn't a verdict on your worth or your leadership or your future. It is information. And when you label failure as fatal, you tend to shrink back. When you treat it as feedback, though, you can grow forward. And growth begins the moment you decide what failure means to you. And here's the thing, you get to decide. Number 2, remember, failure means you actually took action. As leaders, it's important to remember failure is proof that we tried something. It's far more dangerous to stay stuck, protected by past wins where we got it all together, than to actually take action and sometimes stumble forward. You see, progress, it doesn't come from preserving a perfect image. Trust me, I tried that. It actually comes from movement. Leaders who never fail often aren't leading at all. They're just maintaining. All right, number 3, experiment, adjust, and innovate. Just like that chemistry lab that I was telling you about and what it taught me, even unseen fingerprints can impact results. Our thinking patterns, the assumptions and approaches, they often lead unseen marks on our outcomes. So expect to adjust, expect to have to try again, expect to be an innovator, because every new approach is either a win or a lesson that gets you closer to the win. When you cultivate this mindset, failure loses its power and courage takes its place. So I'm challenging you, expect to win or to learn, because both move you forward. When you remove the fear of failure, when you create space for growth and courage and innovation, that is what builds this attitude that sustains great leadership. I'm Elizabeth Mahusai, keynote speaker, corporate trainer, master facilitator, and the author of the international best-selling book, Pick Your Path. This week, choose to break the cycle of fear by expecting to win or expecting to learn.